One of the things I think is most important when we are planning our lives is to find the tools that feel the most easy and natural for us to use so that we can get right into planning. For me, one of those tools is my paper planner. I love putting pen to paper and making all of my dreams come alive like that. But another important tool is, of course, digital applications such as calendar apps, note-taking apps, and to-do list apps. And those might also feel very natural, easy, and effective to use in your planning system. So how do you know when you should be using something on paper, an analog tool in your system, versus when you should be using a digital tool like an application? Let's talk a little bit about what paper and digital planning are best for and how you might want to incorporate both in your system. By the way, hi, if you're new here, my name is Rachel and I do all sorts of planner and stationery stuff here on the YouTubes. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I think it's gonna be a good one. Let's head over to the flat lay and talk about it. Basically, the main thing that I like for paper planning is that writing things down actually cements them in your mind better. There have been many studies that prove this, and this is one of the reasons that when I was in grad school, I took notes by hand, because writing them down by hand helped me remember the content of the lecture much better. So I like paper planning because it's the same sort of system. It helps your mind have a stronger relationship with the material that you've written down. Paper planning is also much slower than digital planning. It's much slower, which can be good and bad, but I think it makes it more methodical and more intentional, in my opinion. In infinite, online databases and infinite to-do lists and all of that kind of stuff, anything and everything can be planned out. In notebooks with limited space, especially if you are writing in pen, you have to be more thoughtful about what you're actually putting down. In my personal experience, also looking back on a paper planner can also help you consider time differently. So this is the Starling Ink Common Planner. It is a year's worth of planning in this little bad boy. And these are the sort of daily pages back here. There are 365 of them, one for every day. And there are, of course, 52 weekly pages in the weekly section. And when I'm just like looking at my planner, I can kind of see how far through the year I am based on how much of my planner is filled up. Flipping back and forth gives me a good muscle memory for where I'm actually at in the year. So it can kind of help you consider time differently, which is really interesting. Paper planning is also great if you want to be able to take a step back from your plans, basically. It can be hard to put away digital task lists if they're on our phone or computer, because you're always sometimes somehow connected to them even when you don't want to be. Paper planning can be closed. Like I can shut this and put it away and put it in a drawer if I need some space from it, in a way that it's not always practical to do with technology. Like for example, if I'm on my phone, I have my to-do list on my phone and I'm just out and about, I'm still referencing my productivity system even if I'm supposed to be doing something like, having a dinner date with a partner or hanging out with friends or something like that. My to-do list system is always front and center. And in the same vein, paper planning is not associated with technology in another way as well, which is that a lot of the time if you open up your phone and you may be going straight for your to-do list, right? This is my to-do list app things. I might get distracted super easily by like Instagram, for example, or games that I have on my phone or something like that. That happens to me all the time when I do digital only planning. When I've ever tried to do digital only planning, is that I have tasks and I make them super visible. I make my stuff super visible to me, but because I'm on my phone and I know that more time-wasty apps like social media or games are also on my phone, I'll often get distracted by those elements and just kind of ignore my to-do lists. So paper planning is really nice because that distraction is not built into the device that you are using to plan. I want to make the case to you guys about digital planning as well, because I think digital planning does have a lot of benefits to offer. And the main one is speed and flexibility. So when I put things down in my paper planner in pen, I usually write in pen, right? You can, of course, write in pencil, but I think a lot of us prefer to write in pen. When you're putting something down in your paper planner in pen, it's hard to move it. Of course, you can always cross things out. Of course, they make erasable pens, or you can write with pencil, but it's much harder to move it than it is in a digital environment. So you can see here, for example, I have my plans. I have my calendar app here. I'm just using the Apple Calendar app. And I can just move things around. I can just say, okay, D&D actually is not going to be on Tuesday. It's going to be next week. So I'm going to move it really quickly to next week. And then boom, it's out of my hair and it's on next week now. So it can be really easy when things get canceled or plans get changed to just move them around. Maybe I didn't go to the gym today. So I just delete it, boom, and it's no longer there. The same is true for tasks. I have open here my task manager that I use digitally, which is Things 3. And it's so easy in a task manager like this to just like start writing infinitely. So maybe I also have to clean out the cat box, and I have to do the dishes, and I have to email back my aunt or something. It's so much easier to just like rapid fire list off tasks instead of having to write them down more methodically, if that makes sense. So you can just truly brain dump in digital planning in a way that I think is very, very fast. It's really speedy. So if you work with a lot of stuff that you need to change very frequently, like maybe clean out the cat box is not going to be today. I'm actually not going to be able to do it today. I need to do it on Thursday or whatever. I just move it out of my today view, and then it's in my upcoming cleaning out the cat box for tomorrow. So the things that are really helpful to have digitally, or rather the things you should be using digital tools for, are the things that really require that speed and require that flexibility. Additionally, digital planning is also good for those things that need to be shared. So there's lots of task managers. Things 3 is not one of them, but there are lots of task managers that you can share tasks with other people with, like Trello or Asana or something like that, even Notion as well. You can come in here and you can have, a task that maybe is like refresh copy on website. And if you are in one of those task managers that can share tasks, you can assign this to yourself, or you can assign it to anyone who's working with you as well on your team. An example of this is my partner and I have a mutual calendar. It's this green stuff you see right here. We have a joint calendar that shows us important tasks or dates or events that we are doing together. So for example, we do a movie night every weekend. And so this movie night this weekend is here in green. And once we decide on a movie, we will plug it in and put what movie it is there. Another thing, he needs to know is when I'm in office during the week. So I have 3 in-office days this week: Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that's important for him to know just so he can keep track of when I'm going to be home and when I'm not going to be home. We also have our cat's birthday in there, our cat Coffee. She is so cute, and her birthday, yes, is on Cinco de Mayo. And if any of this changes, it's super easy for me to come in here and just switch around, like say, instead of going into the office on Thursday, actually, I did go in today and I went in on Wednesday. I can just move that really easily over there, and then he is updated in real time automatically by that change. The other nice thing about digital planning is that most digital planning comes in the forms of apps like the calendar app or Things 3 or Todoist or whatever you're using. So it's really always on the go with you. So if I open up my phone, I can come into my task list here on today in Things 3, and I can just like see everything I just input into Things 3 in my today view on my phone, and I have this with me immediately. Or I can go into my calendar and I can see everything I've input into my calendar. And you can see there, I just switched over my office day on my desktop computer, and it automatically switched over on my phone too. So it's super efficient to have everything with you all the time, especially because all you really need is this tiny little phone. You don't really need very much. Whereas if you are paper planning, you need to bring maybe a couple of pens, you need to bring a whole notebook. If we like a cover, you got to bring a cover, protect your plans. So it depends on your preferences, obviously, but having things digitally, having things on your phone, is a lot less to carry. So how do you determine for yourself what you want to use digitally, what you want to use in physical form? So I just gave you like the highlights of both digital and paper planning, but what you need to do is pay attention to the flow of your day and how you think about tasks. So for example, pay attention to what works for you in terms of like a quick capture method or a database of your tasks, and how you like to organize your tasks. When you're on the go, does it feel more natural to you to pull out a pocket notebook and just jot something down really quickly? Or do you need a digital reminder for something that you needed at the grocery? Is it better for you to have it on your phone and you can just whip it up, and then you know that you need to pick up, carrots at the grocery store or whatever. So how do you capture tasks is one question, because how you capture tasks is going to be different for everybody, and everybody has a few different methods. Personally, for me, I capture tasks by opening up my phone, and I'll often open up things right away, and just in my today list, I will write out, pick up carrots from grocery store. Boom. And then it's on the go with me. It's in my pocket always. I almost always quick capture things just like that. I don't open up my planner and I don't write them in my planner. I think that is just a little bit too clunky of a process for me. But when I am planning my day, I do come into my planner and I do write my tasks down. So every day I do these sort of dailies in the back. And I just write the meetings that I have, and then I write the tasks that I have. I write the meetings I have, and then I have the tasks that I have. So I write what I have to do that day, and I'm planning my day like this in my paper planner every single time. But it might be super different for you. Maybe you feel like you've planned out your day after you've come into your calendar app and looked at your calendar app and, noted, okay, this is the time that I'm going to be commuting. This is the time that I'm going to be cooking dinner with friends. I'm going to go to bed at about 9, stuff like that. Maybe it matters to you that you come into a digital space and block all that out. And that's what makes you feel like you have it under control. I'd also say pay attention to how you plan for the future. So when someone invites you to a party next weekend, is your first thought to write it down or put it in your Google Calendar? For me, my first instinct is to put it in my calendar, to be honest, because it's just too far out that if I write it in the monthly section of my, planner, I'm going to just forget about it. I'm not going to remember it at all. And I'm not going to have that flexibility if I need to move things around in my paper planner as well. So it really helps me to have those things in my calendar because it makes it just feel more real to me. Think about vacations or big events. Are you flipping to your monthlies? Are you flipping to your weeklies and putting things down? Or are you using a calendar on your computer or your phone? Another thing that might be helpful for you to consider is how do you plan projects? Do you prefer to map it all out on paper, brainstorm in word clouds or mind maps? Or does flipping between like your notes app and another document work well for you? Personally, I like doing this sort of mind map thing like you can see here with my Glow Up April game plan. I planned to glow up in April and I did like half of it. But the point is, when I was project planning that sort of glow up, I was doing it like this. I was writing out things in a mind map sort of way. And this is what really helps me sort of see the scope of a project. I do this with almost everything I do. Like when I'm writing something or even like brainstorming YouTube video ideas, I do a lot of this. And you can find apps that work like that on computers and on desktops, obviously. Even apps that you can sort of pull in images and stuff like that. Like you could always make a Pinterest board, for example, if you're trying to project plan something or something like that. Or it might feel a lot better to you to project plan in something like a task manager, like a Things 3 or an Asana. And the last thing I would ask yourself is, how do you like to look back on your tasks? Is it more important for you to look back by searching a database and finding something quickly, or is it more comfortable for you to have a visual memory of how the page looked? For me, a lot of times I like to have that muscle memory of when I'm going through my planner, I sort of know where everything is. When I'm looking back at it, like this Glow Up April game plan, I just like sort of flipped to this and found this because I knew where it was. And it's more comfortable for me to be able to look back on my weeks with a little bit of memory keeping here and there and say like, oh yeah, on this day I did this, on this day I did that. That said, for my calendar, for these like movie nights in particular, or days when I like film or do stuff, it's very helpful to be able to look back in my calendar and see sort of what I was doing on a given day. If I need information, whether that's like for a medical reason, like a doctor's visit or something, or if I need information because I'm trying to make future plans. So I like to use a combination of both. And this is really what I recommend for people, is to use both in some capacity, because at some point you're going to need to refer to something quickly, move things around, treat your tasks like a database, and at other times you're going to want to write things down so you remember them better. You're going to want to memory keep alongside your task lists, which is really much more effective in paper planning forms. At the end of the day, it's about doing what feels natural to you already and working within that system. You want to work with yourself when combining digital and analog, not against yourself, like I already said. And I think what's most natural to most of us right now is to be using a combination of different apps and notebooks and systems, because we have so many options available to us. It's just going to feel really natural to use a lot of them and explore a lot of them.
and have multiple tools in your arsenal, so to speak.
At the end of the day, having digital and analog tools at your disposal will enable you to build a system that feels the most natural and the most comprehensive when you are planning your tasks and organizing your life. If you want to know a little bit more about combining a digital and analog system, specifically how I combine my digital and analog tools, I have a video right here on the screen that may light your fire, so to speak, your digital and analog fire. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate you all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.